Junior Motorsports selects the next driver of the number 8 car, and Shake and Bake returns to Talladega in glorious fashion. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope your week is going well. The NASCAR playoffs are in full swing. If you love NASCAR, you're in the right place. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you stay up to date on all the latest news. For months, ever since Josh Berry announced he was going cup racing next year with Stewart-Haas, Junior Motorsports fans have been clamoring for news around that number 8 car. Recently, JRM confirmed that Brandon Jones will stay in the number 9 next year. Sam Mayer is returning as well. Death Taxes and Justin Allgaier are in that red number 7, but the 8 car was still available until today. We'll talk all about that announcement in just a few moments, but first, Stewart-Haas Racing stole the show yesterday. Especially Ryan Preece. I appreciate when non-actors fully commit to their acting roles. What you're seeing here are some clips from yesterday's Stewart-Haas Racing Talladega Nights crossover promotional announcement. They got both Wonder Bread and Old Spice to sponsor both Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe respectively this weekend at Talladega. Ricky Bobby and Cal Naughton Jr.'s iconic colors will shake and bake in the draft once more this weekend. I mean, this is pretty cool. The cars look great. It's awesome they were able to get the actual sponsors on board. I love this skit. Priest's performance, encore. Briscoe continuing to play into it on social media. I've seen photos of grocery store promotions. This is great for Stewart-Haas, for the drivers, for the sponsors, for NASCAR. And I'm saying this as someone who has said before, not a big Talladega Nights fan. Or I should say it's not my favorite racing movie. It is a fun movie. It's funny. It's classic. But I think what bothers me most about it sometimes is that it feels more mainstream and relevant in many ways than NASCAR itself these days. So maybe that's just something I should get over. Either way, this is a fantastic promotion. I'm really excited to see these cars on track. Massive W for Stewart-Haas Racing and their whole marketing department. Now let's get to the Junior Motorsports news. Many drivers, I'm sure, were considered for this number 8 car. We know about Jeffrey Earnhardt. Both he and Dale Jr. talked about their desire to team up publicly. But ultimately, the way I understand it is Junior Motorsports, like any race team these days, was looking for a driver who brought a considerable amount of sponsorship. There's one name I'd heard that did bring some funding, maybe wasn't Xfinity Series ready. I found out about a week ago that wasn't happening. At that point, I didn't know what to expect. Now we know that Sammy Smith will take over the number 8 car next season. He's bringing sponsorship from Pilot Flying J, Peterbilt, TMC Transportation, the usual suspects who've been on Sammy Smith's cars for several years now. Big news for Junior Motorsports especially, because let's look at some of Sammy Smith's accolades. He's really young for starters. He's 19 years old. Plenty of room to develop, to get better. He's got a long runway ahead of him. Last year, he won 6 ARCA races in only 16 starts. Get this, his average finish in those 16 races, 2.9. I know it's ARCA and he was in one of the 2 or 3 best cars every single race, but still, Toyota trusted him enough to skip trucks, go straight to Xfinity with Joe Gibbs Racing this year, and he got a win early in the season at Phoenix, became the youngest winner in that track's history. Currently sits 6th on the playoff grid in position potentially to move on to the next round. Handing out W's, this is a big W for Junior Motorsports. Not only do they get a young, talented race car driver, he also brings funding. He's like a diamond in the rough. This is what every team is searching for, and Junior Motorsports got him. Of course, this means that Pilot Flying J and Junior Motorsports reunite after like a 1 or 2 year hiatus. For many years, they sponsored Michael Annett. Then they were with Toyota and really Sammy Smith for the past couple of years, but now they're back. So nice to see a familiar team sponsor reunite. I'm sure that helped move this deal along, that existing relationship. Big win for Junior Motorsports, a pretty big L, honestly, for Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota. Last week, we focused on how bare Ford's farm system had become, with Zane Smith leaving for Chevrolet. Let's talk about Toyota now that they're losing arguably their top prospect behind John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter's going to Cup next year. Sammy Smith was likely going to be the next guy. Now, all three of Joe Gibbs Racing's Xfinity cars are empty for next year. Now, I saw this tweet from Dustin Albino, reporter. He said that Steve D'Souza of JGR told him last week that they hope to have 2 full-time drivers and an all-star car next year, just like the team did this year. You look at who Toyota has in trucks who could move up to Xfinity. There's Corey Heim, who's having a good playoff run so far, but then Bob Pockris, Fox Sports, said that he expects Corey Heim to do another year of trucks. And you can see Bob mentions, I guess, Ryan Truex, John Nemechek, Ty Gibbs, and possibly William Sawalich to do some Xfinity races next year, since Nemechek and Gibbs don't have 5 race limits put on them yet. They're too young. Williams, Sawalich, and Arca has looked pretty good, but if they're not going with Corey Heim, who's won races in trucks this year, I mean, who else does Toyota have? Is Trevor Bayne going to get another big shot? Can Ryan Truex find the funding to put together a full schedule? I don't know. Again, Sammy Smith is what every big team is looking for. Young, talented, lots of sponsorship. Losing Sammy Smith is going to hurt. So a pretty big win for Junior Motorsports, a pretty big loss for Joe Gibbs Racing. For Sammy Smith himself, I actually am leaning towards this being a downgrade. Not because Junior Motorsports is worse than Gibbs in the Xfinity Series. No, they're about the same. They typically go toe-to-toe for wins and championships. It's a lateral move within the Xfinity Series. But I'm looking at Sammy Smith's future. Joe Gibbs Racing has some older drivers in Cup. Denny Hamlin, I know he just signed a 2 or 3 year deal. We don't know exactly. But Martin Truex Jr. has already postponed retirement once or twice. He's 43 years old. Any year could be his final year. That's a seat that if Sammy Smith had stayed in Xfinity and continued to contend for wins and championships, that's a seat that may have had Sammy's name on it before long. Especially if that Pilot Flying J money continued to come through. Sammy has moved over to the Chevy side of things. There's no room at Chevrolet. Hendrick Motorsports has Chase Elliott under contract through 2027. They've got Bowman and Larson under contract through 26, Byron through 25. He'll get an extension, I'm sure. Trackhouse has just signed 2 drivers. They've got 4 drivers now and only 2 seats. And then RCR has Kyle Busch, a future Hall of Famer for potentially 6, 7, 8 more years. And then the boss's grandson has the 3 car as long as he wants it. Hendrick, Trackhouse, and RCR are the only 3 key partner Chevy teams. Kaulig may have openings in the future, but they're not super competitive. Spire, that's interesting. We've talked about them a lot on the show lately. They're cooking something. They've got that Gamebridge money. They were able to buy a 3rd charter, work out a deal with Trackhouse. All signs point to them signing Carson Hocevar potentially for next year, one of the top prospects in the garage. And now, and I've seen this rumor floating around recently, I heard the same thing about a week ago, but they might be buying Kyle Busch Motorsports' truck team. That's right, Spire acquiring KBM. Not confirmed, that's the hot rumor. I've heard the same thing. We'll see if it happens. Wouldn't shock me. Point is, Spire is making moves. Maybe in the near future, they could vault themselves into key Chevy partner territory. And maybe one day they'll have room. But again, I just said they signed a young Carson Hocevar. So the point is, when it comes to Sammy Smith's future, there was actually a clear path forward within the Toyota system. John Hunter going to Legacy Motor Club. Martin Truex Jr. nearing retirement, potentially a seat opening up there. Even if Toyota wanted to move John Hunter into the Gibbs system, you would still have potentially the 42 at Legacy Motor Club, a key Toyota partner team. I'd take that deal. Look at what Eric Jones is doing in those cars the last few weeks with no manufacturer support. JRM must have given Sammy Smith a great deal. Maybe Sammy Smith's deal is really flexible. Like in 2 years, he'll be free to sign with whatever team, whatever manufacturer he wants. I'm not sure how Chevrolet is going to view him. Is he going to be seen as a part of their big future plans, a driver's edge, a development driver, or is he just going to be another driver who happens to drive a Chevy, but is kind of free to take his money and his talents wherever he wants? We'll never know exactly what his contract looks like, but these are the things I'm curious about. But good luck to Sammy Smith. Again, within the Xfinity Series, it's a lateral move. He's a playoff driver, potentially a championship contender this year with JGR. He'll do more of the same next year with JRM. In fact, he'll be another year older, another year of experience. He might even be better next season. So in the near future, I expect Sammy Smith to be great. I just worry about long-term future. Will there be room for him in the Cup Series with a key partner Chevy team? I think there would have been room for him at Toyota if he'd chosen to stay. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Sammy Smith, joins Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, and Brandon Jones as the 4 drivers of Junior Motorsports next season. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. That's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. I actually had another video I was working on for later today. You'll see that shortly, but thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and as always, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. I'll see you guys later today. Busy week. I appreciate you tuning in. See you in the next episode.